privilege to be on Kev Mac video. Support the brother. So we back so we can clarify some shit just in case we said some shit that we didn't need to say, or to give you the progression and the blooming of our neighborhood, because we covered the first story with Kojak from the late 70s to the 80s, but we want to give you when it started progressing as Da moves and the development of it. Okay.
For the dime moves and the lokes, for the 6-4s on spokes, for the OGs that did a dime, came back around on parole. For the homegirls with the scrap game, little homies that gang bang, from Pelican Bay to YA, rearrange your mind frame. Yeah, I know what you've been through, shit you had to go tend to. Your mama gave birth on the turf, I
was the founder. I created Conan Pocket in my mother's garage.
I had a lot of, lifting weights, and I was on swole. They start calling me Big Miz.
K.M.V, you know, this is for sure. K.M.V, open your soul.
This is only the beginning.
Born in a place called Pineville, Louisiana. That's right, like 20 minutes from Alexander. We was back and forth through the mid-70s, back and forth to California.
What years were you guys in Louisiana, and what years did you land in Los Angeles?
We landed in Los Angeles to final stay, I think it was 1977.
So your childhood was Louisiana?
From my age, from 1 to
about 9,
8 years of age. I mean, but my adolescent years, what molded me into who I am is California. Most people, when you say it's not where you're born, it's where you're at and where you was raised. What's in you? You follow what I'm saying? It's not about where because the first 5 years of your life, you just in the house. You don't even get off the porch yet. So,
well, let's do this though. Your memories of Louisiana growing up. Do you guys have any? And what are they?
his more clear than mine. So I don't have to. Go ahead.
Going to school, playing basketball, and we got actually older brothers too, and they was kind of like had their own game basically. The one was older than me. He had basically had his own game down there, but he was really fighting against the white people though.
What town are we in right now?
Evergreen and Bunkie.
What region of Louisiana is that?
That's the Avoyes Parish. They go by parishes instead of counties.
Yeah.
Avoyes Parish, and that's in Louisiana. Right outside of that consists of Opelousas, Alexander, close to Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
So that's in the center.
Not
Shreveport,
not south, not north. It's sort of in the center, like you say, by Monroe.
I've been to Mississippi once, and they still got like old plantations where they used to slave.
Shit, they got some shit going on right now in Parson. Did you hear about that?
Where?
Parson.
Brothers getting hung in cells. This is T.I. and Yo Gotti. They're down there right now because some brothers was recording. Motherfuckers got cell phones in their cells today. And they showing motherfuckers up hanging from the ceiling. And they allow them to kill each other. That's in Parson right now in Mississippi. That shit is right now.
Growing up, did you guys have old plantations in Louisiana, or were those things already folded and gone?
No, that shit was folded pretty much. And I think that was
actually, to be honest, I ain't gonna say they was folded. We just didn't know what they was because we was young at that time, and some of that stuff probably was still there.
And the mentality still exists because I go back and forth to Houston, Mississippi, and all those places. They still have the blacks down there have a slave mentality, and the white folks have a master mentality.
So Big Kool, you went to elementary school in Louisiana.
Yeah.
Junior high?
No. Yeah, elementary. He went to elementary.
I went to elementary too, to about the 4th grade.
Yeah. And that's what I was about to say. With my older brother, it's a whole nother story. Y'all want to be fearing. He got kicked out of every school in the whole Florida parish.
What made your folks leave Louisiana and come to Los Angeles?
The rest of my family, my mother's brothers, came out here in the 40s. They migrated from Louisiana in the 40s. They're all in the Inglewood area. That's why I was telling you on the last tape.
Yeah.
That one of my uncles, the original, some of my family's original from the Inglewood family, they stayed right across the street with Chili Red. I know a lot of them dudes from family. We came back and forth from the 70s. The families was established already. So like in 76, 77, I heard one of my relatives screaming blood. And that was like late 70s. But I think we landed here 77 when we finalized it and was here.
Okay, so now we're in Inglewood in the late 70s. How do we get to the east side? How do we move from the west side to the east side? That's backwards.
Well, my uncles were sort of rich. They was well off in avenues. But my mother came out here, no money following them, left our father behind. We end up on the east side in Watts, in poverty on welfare.
Where'd you guys land on the east side? What was your first block?
94th, which is in the hood, 93rd and Central.
And when you guys landed over there, what was the dynamics over there? What was the gang structures going on at that time?
Well, you want to incorporate it with the last tape? Because when we got there, like Kojak was saying, the bebops was established. They was using the terminology bebops already.
I want your experience. When you and bro landed there?
When I landed there, we stayed right directly in the hood in the Brown, we call it Brown Apartments. In the alley, you can see the older homies back there shooting dice. And it was a bunch of other older dudes was older than Kojak, which we was the Crip sympathizers because it still had dudes. The hood wasn't conditioned as Crip, but it was dudes outside in the neighborhood coming from other places. And that alley was a place where motherfuckers was selling weed, shooting dice, and all the different dynamics.
So basically, you landed in a gumbo area.
Yes, sir.
That wasn't no particular.
No. It was bebop. But you got to understand in the 70s that dudes like out here in LA, they say, well, Raymond Washington came to the west. He went to the east. You follow me? Motherfuckers was jumping around all around LA. So our hood wasn't established as a hardcore, how I want to say, blood area. So it was other dudes still coming in the neighborhood fucking with Kojak and a lot of his older brothers and some of the other homies' older brothers.
But at the time, Kojak and the Bebops, when you guys first landed there, were not Bloods yet.
Yeah,
They was farming blood. They
didn't have the official blood identity when you guys first landed.
They had the official blood identity.
So how did that work with the neighborhood being gumbo mixed with sympathizers, as you say?
Well, I'm glad you used that terminology, gumbo, because at first, it was coast and the 8-9 families used to come around there. They were sort of aggressive because it was still like a gumbo neighborhood, right? After Pooch went to jail, Kojak went to jail. I would say 81 and 82, when the upcoming, our generation came, that was over with. I remember one time me and my brother Newt, he's my blood brother, me and him came up together as well. We was coming out the Brownies one time. We had got into it with the Swans. I think it was Static, a Bebop, or one of them on 83rd and Avalon. They took Newt, radio, a gun or something. We coming out the apartment. We said, we going to get at the niggas. Ragtime said, hey, little niggas, where y'all going? We said, we going over here on 83rd. I said, nigga, that's the homies. He took the gun and gave it to Snoop Dogg for family, and they took it from us. Because the families were still being aggressive when they started with Kojak said, a lot of the homies wouldn't kill us when they started off with him. So the 8-9 families was the killers, and that's why Kojak fucked with them more.
Let me ask you this, because when you make that distinction, So the original Bebops, were you guys like player types and not really hardcore gangbanging criminals?
Me and Taco was really, really active then, pushing the line, you know, to make it, you know, a stronger foundation in that hood, you know.
Well, Kool basically said the first generation wasn't killers. So
No, Kojak. I'm using his words. He said, let me see. Kojak. I talked to him the other day. He said because them 8-9 families was killed, and a lot of homies really didn't want to get down like that.
meaning they didn't want funk with Crips.
Did, but they didn't. In other words, they was straddling the fence of banging and not gang banging.
Yeah. So what happened to your crew once this crew got up and running, full-fledged gang members with the bullshit? What happened to your guys that wasn't with the bullshit?
A lot of us got locked up. A lot of us that was, you know, pushing a real strong line. You know, all I say soldiers. You know, the soldiers I ran with. You know, we get incarcerated. You know, on some serious cases. You know, was gone for numerous of years. You know, and that's when Big Kool, Lil Kool, you know, and the rest of the little homies, you know, took it from there, you know, to push the line to make it what it is today, you know.
So when your crew started coming back from the penitentiary, did they integrate with the new crew and accept the new law and order?
Well, a lot of them didn't come back because they was pushed. They had so much time, and some of them had, you know, all day.
And when you say that, you say a lot of them. Let's remind that it was just a few. It always been just a few bebops from 20 to about 40 bebops max from the 70s to the 80s. So his crew was few. Some of them shut it down. The homie Big Taco was killed, and that's his number one compadre he's speaking of. You follow what I'm saying?
When Pooch came home, Pooch was still around.
Pooch was still around. All of them was still around, but they wasn't active like we was active. Because you got to understand, just like when Rag Time and Big Time was over there, them dude was active. When they left their neighborhood, I think it was Sinister and Sticks and all of them picked up from there, right? But before, when them dudes was there, I could somewhat consider them dudes as our OGs as well because they was pushing in line. And like I said last night, our hood was still on the fence of finding a strong identity. Because some of them, like I spoke, like Kojak said, he fucked with the families, but Big Creeper and Murdoch and some of the homies did not fuck with him because them dudes was too aggressive. I'm going to give you another story. Them dudes had came over there and they had stole his bike. The homie Murdoch, and this is even before I started fucking with Wino, the homie Murdoch said, hey, blood, that's the homie's bike. Bang at the time, but I'll get into that earlier.
He was
Bang was with these dudes at this time.
Yeah, he was a family.
Because he was a non-deuce family. Kojak, in a sense, both of them was somewhat with the families.
It sounds like you guys are being squeezed by two ends. 8-9
The bounty
families
hunters,
on
the
this
families.
side, and you got the Crips on
We were
this side.
squeezed from all angles in that devil's triangle.
So basically, why pick the blood route when both you got two aggressions from Bloods and Crips?
I admired Blood because it wasn't many of it was Crips, you know, and they stayed, you know, strong. You know, no matter how many it was, they still stuck together. And they pushed the line and made a strong line, which, you know, we go by and live by today. You know, me, I'm an ex, you know, I'm up in age, you know, but the line is still being pushed and it's getting stronger, you know, because of, you know, the very few we had then, you know.
Let me ask you something. When you and Bro landed in the Bebops, Crips weren't the official enemy when you guys landed over there yet.
Yeah.
They were,
but
but the head gangs, like Wino was saying, that one time he said that them dudes came over there, right, Wino? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
And they
At a party.
They had a party with you guys, right?
Yeah, it was like a sort of like an era where everybody was identifying, but it was like so much as like house parties. It was like a little. Everybody came from a little everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Even though that was the Bebop hood, and they knew it was the Bebop Blood hood, but it's sort of like you had outside of like the Crips, like some Grave Streets came over, a couple of hat gangs, what was it? Kitchens. All these gangs came down, but it was like wasn't nobody really like getting into like no, let's say activity as like trying to pursue each other on a blood and crip thing. It was like all together like a party. Everybody was partying.
Can you pinpoint the year or an event that made it official? Made it an official war between Bebops and the surrounding Crips, where it wasn't no more partying, no more gumbo mixing. These dudes is enemies on site. Can you pinpoint that year?
I would say 79 and 80. What about you, Wino?
About that, the end of the 70s. About the end of the 70s for sure. And it was just full fledged, you know what I'm saying? Those guys rolled through, they still trying to roll through, but it was at one time right there on the trade, 93rd Street, and it was like 3 or 4 hat gangs came through. I think that, on that day, I think it was Taco, Kojak, Taco's brother Sir Nose, homie Look,
Rick, his brother.
yeah, Mr. Buzz, as they call Rick, Lil Bob, which we call Smokey. So a few of us out there, and the guys came through, and they, you know, had words right there on the corner, and the words was from one of the guys from Hat, which they called Hanky, and he was saying a hat, you can't stomp a hat can't be stomped. And the homie Taco basically took off, you know, and the squabble started there. He dropped his hat, and the hat was stomped, and these guys take off and go back to their neighborhood. And when they returned with, say, 15, 20 guys strong, and they got these 2x4s in their hand, and they coming through the hood, but most of the homies was already ready for them because they, you know, basically passed out a few burners and whatnot. And we winded up off Central right there around, you know, a parking lot there. And everything took place then. And when they ran up there, it was kind of surprised because they had sticks, but my homeboy OG Taco had a burner, which was like a big 357-45 Sun at that time. And everybody got quiet, and it was like, just like a standoff. You know, it was like they was really saying where they was from, but once they ran into the gun, and he had the gun in their face, they like kind of bowed down. You know, it was still a few fights going on, but everybody kind of like just tucked. And police was called, and they basically took like a good, say 7, 8, probably 9 homies down, OG homies. You know what I'm saying? When all this took place though, everybody was right there in the, I could say off Central, was like a apartment complex right there where we hung at. And right in that area, in that parking lot area, is where the Firestone Sheriffs, they pretty much came in and took hat gangs in. Some of them got from the OGs from the neighborhood to jail.
You bring up this event. Is this like the turning point when guns came into play? Is that why you're bringing this up? What's the significance of that event right there?
Well, it was basically where it was established where these guys wasn't gonna just come through our neighborhood anymore. They wasn't gonna socializing with them, wasn't none of that. It was Crip and Blood war, full-fledged.
How long after that did the gun battle start? Was it immediate?
That somewhat seemed like it was all around the same time.
About the same area.
Big Cool, I know we tapped on this, I just want to go back over it again. What years were you at Fremont? What was your freshman year at Fremont?
Probably 80, what was it worth?
80, 81,
Yeah.
82, something like that. Yeah.
And when you got there, what was the gang dynamics of Fremont in 80, 81? Who was running the show at that time?
East Coast and the Hoovers.
And when did it switch? Was it gradual? Or like next year, the tables turned?
Probably about 2 years it turned.
And why?
And matter of fact, I don't know if it was 2 years. It might have been.
Well, see, that's what I was saying. I used to ditch up there since 81. So then I started going to the motherfucker 83, 84. So 83, 84 is when the year when Fremont turned to Damu school.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how that happened. What's the event that made it switch like
Bloods
that?
had started to rise more. You know, Crips had a strong hold on LA once upon a time, but on that east side, motherfuckers started to come out. And that second generation, because you got to understand, if you look into the chronicles of blood history, there isn't a lot of older Damus from none of these hoods. There was always a lot of Crips. And that's why if you look at a lot of the pictures that y'all look for, you see a bunch of big swole Crips. On all of these pictures, you don't see a bunch of Damus. But that second generation came in the 80s, the reputable Damus, where the gangbanging began, because, you know, that's when Damus really, the gangbanging started.
I'm wondering if it's, because we're talking about 82, 83 Fremont flip. Do you think it had to do with the Crips started killing each other around that same time and they were divided and conquered? And you guys took advantage of
Even
that?
though the Crips was divided, man, but the Crips always was still smashing on Damus. That wasn't the place. I mean,
It was always divided.
they was divided right at Lock.
Yeah.
And they was divided at Drew. But them motherfuckers still was looking for me and a lot of the Swans and other motherfuckers every day. Same thing at Lock and Fremont.
Yeah.
They was divided, but they still was sniffing out looking for Damus.
I mean, you think about it, Fremont, late 70s, early 80s, the Hoovers were there. The East Coast were there. Two of the biggest umbrella gangs in the city. They didn't go nowhere.
Yeah, but then you got to understand that school was right in Swan Hood.
I mean,
Crenshaw's and V&G Hood.
The V&G ain't big as the Swans, and back then, all the Bloods was sticking together.
exactly.
So
especially on the
all
east
the
side.
Bloods gonna come to that Fremont school then. You see what I'm saying?
And the Swans,
Yeah.
let me remind you, Swans one of the biggest blood sets on the east side. Okay, and they turf is bigger than pretty much any single game.
Let me ask you this, so you're at Fremont, you graduate what year? Or
I did.
if you would have graduated, what year would that have been?
85, I think. 85, 86.
Do you guys
No,
remember?
hell no. You was 84 or some 83 or some shit.
Do you guys remember the first year you guys came across when crack hit the east side?
Yeah.
When you first seen it?
Yes, sir.
What's the story behind that? When you first
I
seen
was at Fremont. It was in 83, 84. Me and Sticks from family. I already had crack. A Mexican was selling it to me. He went to jail.
Yeah.
A lot of the homies was got on it. Melvin Butler was one of the first dudes that I got it from. He had a spot. Matter of fact, on Wadsworth and 91st Street, I think.
No, you got it from G first. Boy.
Oh, yeah.
You got this shit from G first.
No. I didn't get it from G first. You was in jail. G didn't. When I first got crack cocaine, I got it from Melvin's spot. G shit came afterwards. When we started going to the west side, taking the shit, doing all type of shit. But the first crack I went to G, the first case I caught was on 93rd Central. You and Wino, y'all was gone. That's during the time, you know, like I say, we used to sit up in trees and shit. Kojak used to sit up in a tree.
I'm just saying, when it was introduced to you, did you know what it was? How was it explained to you what it was?
When that motherfucker hit the scene,
He ain't think about that.
I
He
don't-
just knew it was something to make some
I just know motherfuckers say they got some rocks. They wouldn't call it crack, they were saying rocks.
Exactly, rock, exactly.
So before 83, how were gang members in LA making money?
Shern, weed.
So let me ask you something. So every section of LA has this local high roller, the main man over there. Was that the Butler guy for you guys?
No,
My
for
homie
our-
G.
It was G for us,
Where was G from?
from our hood.
He came from
originally
Chicago.
From Chicago, but he came to the neighborhood as like a college guy. You know, he just got out of college, and he moved to LA, from, the Midwest. And he basically, he's like a guy trying to establish himself, he had a family trying to get work, the right way. And then some kind of way he got introduced to the cocaine. And he started, doing his little thing and took off from there. He became a major figure on the east side, in our neighborhood. And he was like basically looking out for some of the guys around there, putting them up on, little dope packages and whatnot. But he
became an honorary bebop or official bebop?
From the beginning, he was. He was an honorary bebop because we just accepted him because he was supplying us what we needed. And he somewhat introduced it to our hood first. Melvin was around.
A Chicago nigga introduced crack cocaine to y'all.
Well, he was already staying in the hood though. You follow what I'm saying? He was fucking with a lot of big time heavyweight dudes at the same time.
What happened to G?
He had a heart attack or something.
Oh yeah, that's my time.
Yeah.
He didn't set off in the sunset with his bag of gold?
No.
Oh
Jimmy,
yeah,
the homie loved him because
he used to look out for him.
He used to look out for him, and he gonna keep a sack in that neighborhood. He gonna keep a sack out there.
Our hood was somewhat like the head. Is it still Femi?
Yeah.
It's somewhat like the headquarters. We had dudes like Bone, Bad Ross from Six Deuce Brim, Smoking from Six Deuce.
Bad Habit Rap.
Bad Hat, that's Bad. HB from the Millers, Punkin from Inglewood Family. All type of damooches. That was like a headquarters where a lot of homies used to come. And when they used to come to our hood, a lot of times, the question you asked, they didn't know the borders. So it was, they think that they're in our hood, and you walk off, they're in another motherfucker hood just that fast. I want to somewhat give the origin when it progressed and developed it to a full-fledged war, and when that second generation came.
Okay. What year do you give the second generation? When did that crew form?
They formed hard between 80 and 81. Let's say 80 to 82.
A roll call those guys. Nicknames on.
Buck, Nuke, Kiki, Wino, Lil Smokey, Big Smokey, Joker, JJ, Big Creeper, Trey, Murdoch, Kojak, Sir Nose, Taco,
Kiko.
Debo,
Weebo.
and somewhat came in the second generation though.
Yeah, Weebo.
I mean the third.
Weebo did
All
too.
these guys live in that little triangle.
Right there in that little triangle.
It's more than that. You just can't think
I
right.
can't think about it because I did a roll call that was on a photo album I had.
So basically, every kid that lived up in there had
Dudes.
to be a bebop. There was no neutral squares running around there.
No, it had a couple of new
It was a
squares.
couple squares, but
Yeah.
and like we were saying, is some of the older dudes, they didn't conform. That's what I want to get to, because when the families came, right? When we somewhat, a couple of years, the families were still, and I want to say, our most dominating hood. One time, I know y'all probably heard of these brothers named Frog and Lowdown, some insane Crips. They was related to one of my homeboys, JJ, which is Joker now. Them dudes come belling through from 95th, Blue Rags, Barry, Slaughter, and the rest of them on 93rd Street on the other corner. I'm coming home from school, I'm like, God damn, it's like the OK Corral. The niggas up there with heels. These dudes belling through the alley with Blue Rags. Junior them on the other end. I'm like, these motherfuckers about to start killing. But they Kojak didn't say, well, this is the homies' people. And they squashed it. What I said that to say, during our time, you had dudes that was over with. Once it progressed into when the second generation, when me and Nuke and Bang and the rest of them came, it wasn't no coming over there saying this is, you can walk through.
You know what it sounds like to me? It sounds like to me when Bebop's second generation officially put that blood stamp on it. It sounds like it's right about the same time as the crack era kicking in. And that's when you guys put that.
A little before.
A little before that.
A little before that. A little before that. Because I remember in 84, we had moved for a couple months on 84th and Broadway, and we stayed next door to some Main Street dudes. And
What's the dude's name again?
I think one of us named Sticks, Tattoo, Big Jesse, and all of them. We stayed next door to them dudes,
Y'all
right?
niggas really played it close. Bro.
Listen to me. I used to have flags all up on Broadway. Walking on that motherfucker, I ran into 11 Deuce Mac from Hoover.
Yep.
Big Sticks came out and said, hey, cuz, you're not going to be disrespecting me. You stayed next door. Him and his brothers, they was big Crips. They was older than us. Out there buffing. I said that also to say I remember them niggas had a crack house. My whole family was there, but them niggas had a crack house. Dude got shot. Later, I think it was a story about some Menlos or some shit. That shit was all over LA. A lot of the reputable Crips know about that shit. I was out there that night.
What year were you guys living in the main streets?
Well, you can't say it was Main Street because the homie Ron and Jimbo, their father, it was close to like 7-7 Swan as well. It almost was like a neutral zone, but it was more Crip populated. This was like 83, 84. We just moved over there for a couple months.
That little area is tricky because
Yeah. It was a dude from A-Trade Main Street, matter of fact. He looked like Kev.